All right, Superman fans, buckle up, because today we are diving headfirst into Metropolis. And you know what? Things are getting a little spicy over there.
Oh, yeah.
Especially around the new Superman movie hitting screens in July 2025. You guys sent in some articles about the casting choice.
Yeah.
And yeah, let me tell you, the internet is on fire right now.
Well, it's not exactly an everyday thing recasting an icon like Superman. I mean, he's practically a century old at this point.
Right.
And with that kind of legacy comes a whole lot of, well, baggage, shall we say. Fans definitely have strong feelings about who should be wearing that cape.
And that cape has landed on David Corenswet, and director James Gunn is already out there.
Yeah.
Defending his choice.
Yeah.
Which is intriguing all on its own.
Yeah.
Why all the fuss? What's the big deal here?
What's really fascinating is that Gunn isn't defending Corenswet based on his looks or, his superhero physique, which is what you'd normally expect in these casting debates. Instead, he's highlighting something else entirely. He's emphasizing Corenswet's embodiment of what he calls Superman's, quote, basic human morals, integrity, belief in protecting others, being good to people, and being honest.
So Gunn is going for a Superman who's not just, a pretty face with superpowers.
Right.
He's looking for someone who embodies those classic Superman values. That's pretty refreshing considering how often superhero movies just go for spectacle over substance.
Exactly. It really suggests that Gunn is prioritizing a certain kind of performance over just replicating what we've seen before. He wants someone who can embody the true essence of Superman from the inside out.
But here's the thing, not everyone's buying it. I mean, I've been looking through these articles and the fan backlash is intense.
Yeah.
It's all about Henry Cavill. The previous Superman. He's like the gold standard for a lot of these fans. Cavill is Superman, the OG Superman.
I get it. I think it's totally natural for people to have their own vision of such an iconic character. When you've grown up with a certain portrayal, it's hard to imagine anyone else taking on that role.
One fan even tweeted, "No one can replace Cavill Corenswet might be a good actor, but he's just not Superman material."
Right.
And, for those who aren't familiar, OG stands for Original Gangster. It basically means the first or most authentic version of something.
Yeah.
It carries a lot of weight when you're talking about cultural icons.
For sure. And Cavill definitely made his mark on the role. But here's where things get interesting. Gunn is clearly aiming for a fresh take on Superman, one that might connect with audiences differently in 2025.
He even said, "People are looking for heroes and values of goodness right now," which honestly gives me chills.
Wow.
What do you think he means by that? Is he saying something about the kind of hero we need in the world today?
I think he's giving us a glimpse into his vision for the film. He might be tapping into this, current societal need for hope and optimism. We've been through a lot these past few years, and maybe we're craving a hero who embodies those values, not just through actions, but through his very being.
So it's not just about punching bad guys and saving the day. It's about embodying a certain set of values, about being a symbol of hope in a world that sometimes feels pretty hopeless.
Exactly. And that's what makes this casting choice so fascinating. It's not just about finding the right look. It's about finding the right spirit, the right heart for Superman. It really makes you think about what we look for in our heroes these days. I mean, is it the classic, all-powerful, almost godlike Superman, or are we ready for something different?
That's such a good point, especially since this movie isn't coming out until July 2025.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot can happen between now and then.
Yeah.
Think about it. What kind of world will we be living in then? And what kind of Superman will we actually need?
That's the big question, isn't it? It's like these iconic characters, they kind of evolve with us, Superman in particular, he's a reflection of our own hopes and fears, our anxieties and aspirations. This new film, it's not just a standalone story. It's part of a bigger cultural conversation.
Okay, but let's be real for a second. Gunn might have this huge vision for a more, nuanced, values-driven Superman, but he's also dealing with a massive franchise, right?
Oh, yeah.
There are expectations from the studio, from die-hard fans, from the entire legacy of Superman himself. How do you balance all of that?
It's a tightrope walk for sure. He has to honor the essence of Superman while also making it feel fresh and relevant for today's audience. It's like, how do you reinterpret a classic without losing its soul?
I imagine it's like walking into a room full of people who all have very strong opinions about who Superman should be. Some are clinging to the past, others are demanding something new. How do you navigate that kind of pressure?
He can't please everyone, and he shouldn't try. What he can do is stay true to his own vision, to what he believes the story needs to be. Ultimately, that's what will make it compelling, whether people agree with him or not.
Speaking of choices, let's go back to Corenswet for a minute. These articles don't really dive into his acting background. What do we actually know about him? What made Gunn think, this is my Superman?
Well, from what I've gathered, Corenswet is a relatively young actor, but he's already shown a lot of range in his roles. He's done drama, comedy, even some sci-fi.
Wow.
And while he might not have the instant name recognition of someone like Cavill that could actually work to his advantage, he comes in without the baggage of those previous Superman portrayals. He's kind of a blank slate, which gives Gunn more freedom to shape the character.
So it's almost like he's a sculptor with a fresh block of clay. He can mold and shape this Superman into something unique, but at the same time, he has to respect the basic form, the core structure of what makes Superman Superman.
That's a brilliant analogy. I think that's exactly what Gunn is trying to do. He's not throwing everything out. He's taking those core elements of Superman, the strength, the compassion, the unwavering belief in good, and finding a new way to express them, a way that speaks to us now.
So what I'm hearing is this new Superman movie is going to be about more than just a guy in a cape flying around saving the day. It's going to be a reflection of who we are, who we want to be, and how we define heroism in a world that's pretty complicated.
Exactly. And I think that's why this whole casting choice, this whole conversation we're having is so fascinating. It's forcing us to confront our own ideas about heroism and what we value in our, larger-than-life figures. It's like holding up a mirror to our own cultural anxieties and aspirations.
So you're saying this isn't just about a movie, it's about us. It's about what we want from our heroes and what we truly believe in.
Absolutely. And it all comes back to Gunn's point about people looking for heroes who embody goodness. In a world that can feel chaotic and uncertain, maybe we're craving that reassurance, that beacon of hope that Superman represents.
Yeah, it's like we're looking for someone to, remind us that good can still win, that there's still something worth fighting for. And maybe that someone doesn't have to look exactly like the Superman we've always pictured in our heads.
Exactly.
Okay.
And that brings us to a really interesting point. One of the articles mentions how fixated some fans are on Cavill's physique, on his portrayal of Superman as this almost godlike figure.
Right.
But Gunn seems to be highlighting a different kind of strength, a more internal, character-driven strength.
So it's not all about bulging biceps and, a chiseled jawline. It's about what's going on beneath the surface.
Exactly. It's about the choices Superman makes, the values he embodies, that unwavering belief in doing the right thing, even when it's tough. And that's something that can be portrayed by any actor, regardless of their physical appearance.
It's funny, thinking about all the different versions of Superman we've seen over the years,
Yeah.
from the classic comics to the TV shows and movies, so many different actors have worn the cape, each bringing their own unique spin to the role.
And that's the beauty of it, isn't it?
Yeah.
This character, this symbol, he's constantly being reinterpreted, reimagined, reflecting the changing times and the evolving values of our society. It really speaks to Superman's enduring power, as an idea, as a representation of our collective longing for hope and goodness.
So if we step back and look at this whole Corenswet casting controversy from that perspective, it becomes less about who's the better Superman and more about what each actor represents, what each director is trying to say about the world we live in.
Exactly. It's about understanding that there's no one definitive Superman. He's a reflection of us, of our hopes and fears, our aspirations and anxieties. Each new interpretation just adds another layer to that complex and fascinating tapestry.
Wow. Okay. So this new Superman movie, it sounds like it's shaping up to be more than just your average superhero flick. It's a cultural conversation, a reflection of our times, and maybe even a challenge to our preconceived notions about what makes a hero.
Absolutely. And that's what makes it so exciting. We have this fresh perspective, a new actor stepping into an iconic role, and a director with a bold vision. It's going to be fascinating to see how it all plays out.
You've definitely given me a lot to think about. I'm honestly even more curious to see this movie now. July 2025 can't come soon enough.
I agree. And I have a feeling it's going to spark some really interesting conversations about heroism and values and what we need from our heroes in today's world. But here's a final thought for you and for all our listeners. If Superman is meant to represent our ideals, what does it say about us that we're so quick to judge a new actor based on how he looks, rather than the character he's actually portraying?
That is a fantastic question. And one I think we all need to think about as we wait for the arrival of this new, perhaps more human Superman. Thanks for joining us on this Deep Dive. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep looking for the extraordinary in the everyday.